Today on Notsam Wrestling, what we learned from John Cena, CM Punk, and R-Truth. LA Knight getting involved with Seth Rollins. What the future of Jacob Fatu is now that he's officially at odds with Solo Sikoa. Goldberg is back. Fanatics Fest happened over the weekend, and so much more. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. So much going on. It was a very, very busy weekend. I was a big part of Fanatics Fest here in New York City. I was there on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Fanatics Fest did this deal where they, we were talking about it on Raw Recap a lot, where they did Fanatics games, where they got 50 celebrities and 50 fans to compete in 8 different games. I believe it was 8, one in each kind of big sports entity's booth. Every sports entity at Fanatics Fest has a booth. It's almost like a San Diego Comic-Con, but for sports collectibles fans. So like card collecting is a huge part of Fanatics Fest, but also, you know, every big sports organization has a big setup, a big booth, something that you can do in the booth. Every you know, there are New York sports-based brands that are set up, larger national sports-based brands that are all set up, a ton of merch, a ton of stores. They put the 40/40 club in there, Jay-Z's club. I mean, it's a scene, and every massive star that you could possibly think of, they all show up for Fanatics Fest. This is the second year running. This year, way bigger than the first. I was there for last year too. I did 2 Notsam Wrestling shows last year at Fanatics Fest, and this year, even bigger. I had a blast. But it was kind of designed for me to have a blast. I would love to hear what you guys thought. But everybody that I was interacting with at Fanatics Fest this year was having a lot of fun. And so Fanatics Games was a big part of Fanatics Fest this year. And what it was those 50 celebrities and 50 fans that went booth to booth, participating in 8 different events that were kind of catered to each of those booths. And then whoever has the high score at the end, with all the events combined, gets $1 million. Second place gets a Ferrari. Third place gets like a LeBron James rookie card or something that's worth $250,000. Tom Brady ended up winning the whole thing, which shouldn't be a huge shock. But then I think he gave like $5,000 to every fan that was all 50 participants went home with $5K from Tom Brady. So that was a good thing. But I say all this to say, The WWE had a spectacular booth, and in the booth, you could see they had all, like, every WWE championship title was on display. They had some Fanatics Fest exclusive WWE championship belts that they had made just for the convention. They had a hit Logan Paul with a chair station, which that's kind of, I mean, if you want to talk about being over as a heel, when you're the guy, I've seen them do it with Logan Paul, and I've seen them do it with Dominic Mysterio. And maybe now that Dominic Mysterio is starting to sprinkle in cheers a little bit, they go, let's lean all the way in with Logan Paul. But if you think that Logan Paul, I'm so sick of seeing this Logan Paul. Why is he on every show? Why is he in this match? Why is he in that match? Well, he's big enough that he is the attraction that fans who paid to be there will go to hit with a chair. A mannequin of Logan Paul, you can hit with a steel chair. And then they have the superstar entrance setup, which is a massive Tron stage ramp, and you come out and you do your favorite entrant. You know, my son was there. He did Roman Reigns. It's great. But the event for Fanatics Games was the superstar entrances. So all 50 participants that were fans, all 50 participants that are celebrities, all did WWE superstar entrances. And some of the celebrities were WWE superstars who, believe it or not, ended up doing their own entrances. But myself, Megan Morant, you know, your host for Raw Recap, and Kathy Kelly was there with us. The 3 of us were the judges for every entrance that came through, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it was so fun watching the level of commitment that not only the fans had, but some of these athletes and celebrities had. The James Harden entrance was incredible. I mean, you know, Julian Edelman smashing Celsiuses all over himself because he was doing a Stone Cold entrance. Eli Manning coming out to Roman Reigns. Tom Brady. The idea, just sitting there, right, on Friday, it was not lost on me. The idea that Tom Brady comes out. he does Cody Rhodes' entrance, which, by the way, and this is what blew me away. Number one, not an overwhelming amount of legend entrances. Some, of course, but the vast majority of entrances were current active roster stars. And I'm not just talking about from the people participating in Fanatics games. As a person who was just going to Fanatics Fest, as long as there wasn't somebody from Fanatics games going, you could do your own celebrity entrance. And the vast majority was current active roster stars. And as far as legends go, I think maybe more than any other Legends entrance was the Hardy Boys, who are active in TNA right now. So I think that goes. I think it goes to show not only this idea of picking up new fans, but something that we've talked about on the podcast before, and something that I addressed in the email segment a lot, which is this idea that right now there's a lot of people that have maybe are hardcore fans, but they only been watching a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I think that that's a wonderful, amazing thing. So I was super happy to see that. Super happy to see that Tom Brady would pick Cody's entrance. Then when Tom Brady started actually doing Cody's moves, like started actually entering like Cody Rhodes, I said, now we're talking. Okay, so I loved all that. And then he had this whole thing with Eli Manning and it was fabulous. You got to see the video of it. But I say all this to say, he does the Cody entrance. I'm blown away already because the greatest quarterback of all time is doing QB1 Cody Rhodes' entrance, and he's doing it well. And then he comes down to the bottom of the ramp, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at Kathy, and he's looking at Megan, waiting for us to score him, waiting for us to judge him. I said, in what point in my entire life, will I ever get a scenario where Tom Brady is looking at me and going, hey, Sam, how did you think I did? How could that ever happen? Talking about a bucket list, you wouldn't even put it on your bucket list that Tom Brady's going to do something. First of all, Tom Brady is doing something where you are the expert, not Tom Brady. And that Tom Brady's going to do anything on the planet. And he's going to look at you and go, did I do good? Nuts! Oh, not Bill Belichick. I'm the last professional broadcaster, Sam Roberts. The original and only podcast tribal chief. And Tom Brady's looking at me going, how was the entrance? Unbelievable. I think I gave him a 9. It was a very good entrance. A lot of people had good entrances. Kevin Hart's entrance, perfect scores, 10s across the board, getting Cody Rhodes involved, the whole thing. You can see the video of that too. But there was this moment, right? And Becky Lynch came out. Becky Lynch came out and did an entrance. And she did her entrance. But I thought she didn't put the full Becky Lynch thing on it, right? And so I gave her a 9 instead of a 10. And she was like yelling at me, put some respect on my name. And then she pointed at my face and said, you're next. I'm Goldberg now. And I was shocked. We'll talk about Goldberg in a moment. But there was this moment, right? And I'm sure a lot of you have seen the video. A lot of eyeballs were shown it over the weekend. But so it started on Saturday afternoon with John Cena coming out to do an entrance. And he just came out to do his entrance. And he came out like the villain that he is and just started his standard WWE entrance, which this guy wants to ruin wrestling. He's disregarding us. I almost gave him a 0, but I didn't really have the opportunity to do it because then all of a sudden, Seth Rollins comes out. This is happening at Fanatics Fest. Seth Rollins comes out with the Money in the Bank briefcase. John Cena and Seth Rollins have a stare down. I'm sitting at a table 3 feet away from them, and they're having a stare down. John Cena brushes him off. Then all of a sudden, as John Cena is leaving, CM Punk comes through the crowd from behind me, around Kathy, jumps up. Now he's standing on our judging table, and then he and Seth Rollins have to get separated, even though he's got a match with John Cena coming up. So I go, I don't know. I mean, I give CM Punk a 10. I give John Cena a 0. I guess Seth could get an 8. I don't know what I'm scoring here, but whatever. We move on. They did the SummerSlam press conference from the kickoff from Fanatics Fest and everything. And then the damnedest thing happened. We get back to superstar entrances. Charlotte Flair comes out, does hers. It's fantastic. She gets a 10. All of a sudden, John Cena's music hits again. I go, and they didn't even tell us that he was doing another one. John Cena's music hits, and John Cena does like a pratfall as he comes out. And then he's standing at the top of the ramp, almost going like, what should I do? What should I do? He's got silly face on again. And then he looks down all the way at the end of the aisle, and his eyes light up, and he runs. And I'm already going, oh my God, this is so cool. We haven't seen a John Cena running entrance since last year sometime. John Cena hasn't done a running entrance since he became a bad guy. Maybe it was Elimination Chamber. I don't know. I have to go back and look. But we're getting to see a John Cena running entrance. Oh, he's not stopping. He's not stopping as he's getting towards the table. I had no idea it was coming. He leaps up in the air, jumps across the table, wraps his giant strongman arms around me, gives me a hug that was maybe the best hug I've ever gotten, and / the longest hug I've ever gotten. He would not release his grip from me. And when he finally did, the table is starting to give, and the table is starting to move. And I held his arm because I'm sitting there thinking, I don't want the champion to get injured. There's a concrete floor. I don't want the champion to get injured. And then people are going like, Sam, why'd you need a hug so bad? You know, I started, am I going to be responsible for this? The table falls. Everything falls off of it. My phone hits the concrete. I don't have a case on my phone. But I didn't even notice it at first because now the three of us are helping John Cena back up to his feet, and he runs away. I have no idea how it happened. I haven't spoken to him since as to ask why. He just, for some reason, saw me, got very happy, and ran down and gave me a hug. Now, I don't know if, listen, and people go like this, he's supposed to be a heel. Like, dude, relax. We're at Fanatics Fest, okay? Chill. We're at Fanatics Fest. And by the way, 24 hours before this, he was cutting the promo of a lifetime. He did his pipe bomb promo. We're in good shape, okay? Don't worry about it. But if you do want to go, Sam, you say everything counts. You can't just say you're at Fanatics Fest. You say everything counts. John Cena called this whole thing an experiment a long time ago. He said this character that we now know as John Cena today said this whole thing was an experiment that he had done from the beginning. He had been in control of everything from the start. So what if he said, okay, I'm going to show everybody the same way that on SmackDown I showed everybody who's given CM Punk all this credit for the pipe bomb for all those years. I'm going to show, this is the character now, who says, I'm going to show everybody how easy it is to do. I'm just going to go do one myself, and boom, I've got you the same way Punk did, and now you're cheering for me. How am I going to go as a heel and win Fanatics games? How am I going to go get a score of 10? Which, by the way, I gave him a score of 10. Kathy didn't want to do it. I told her it should be a high score. That was a fabulous entrance. But how do you do it? You go out there and you placate to the audience like you've never placated before. After everything that he said about all of us, we all went gaga for that entrance. So what we're doing is paying off what he's saying about us. So if you want to go, okay, how are we supposed to believe he's a heel? Now this is what the heel would do. Because he'd go, I can't believe I have to go to you guys for approval. Let me show you what happens. Let me show you how easy it is. I turn it on, and now I have your approval. Because that's how simple it is. I'm using my brain, as he said, on television, into a microphone. How he does what he does, he uses his brain. He's using his brain to get a great score at the Superstar entrance of Fanatics games, because that was the goal. And he did. He got a great score, destroyed the booth. My phone did not crack, by the way, when I picked it up. There are scuffs on it. I am proud of the scuffs, because they're from the moment where John Cena embraced me, which was the coolest thing ever. But don't get me into a conversation about character or out of character, because everything that he did can be explained by what he has said previously. Now, in terms of where this leaves us with pro wrestling, I think there's a couple of things that I noticed over the course of 3 days. Number one, in the women's division, Rhea has no equal right now. In the women's division, Rhea has no equal, not only in terms of the amount of young women that were doing, and girls that were doing Rhea's entrance, but also how many of them were dressed as Rhea Ripley. I mean, and then when Rhea came out to do that entrance, who again, it's not like they go, all right, Rhea Ripley's next. The music just kicks in. You don't know if it's going to be a fan. You don't know who it's going to be. But the music just plays. And then Rhea walks out on stage. The whole convention center went crazy. They had no idea Rhea was coming out. But the minute they saw her, there was that recognition. And the fact that everybody went doing Rhea entrances. So there's the Rhea thing. There's the fact that, like, Jey Uso, and this is going to be thematic of today's show because there are multiple examples of it this week, but Jey Uso loses the title. And what do we act like? Oh, they're burying Jey Uso. Oh, what did they already give up on Jey Uso? You know, it's like it goes back to what I was saying last week, which is just because your guy is not the world champion doesn't mean he's buried. It's not either you're the world champion or you're buried. Not everybody gets to be the world champion. Sometimes a heel can be the world champion, as is the case with Gunther. Like, just because you lose the title, this is just where the story's going. Jey Uso, I would bet there were maybe more Jey Uso entrances than any other entrance. Everybody loved him. There were multiple times where it would be multiple Jey Usos in a row. And he wasn't even part of the thing. He didn't come by our booth while I was there once. People just wanted to get out there and do the Jey Uso entrance. So that was my second observation, how Jey Uso is still, like, if there's any question as to, you know, how over he was, if there's any question as to whether or not he should be in the position that he's in, if there's any question as to whether or not he should have been champion at all, look at the footage of the last 3 days of Fanatics Fest and tell me that he's not one of the most popular superstars in years. People love that dude. And finally, if there is anybody, and I've been saying this for a long time, people love to go like this. They should turn Cody Rhodes heel. And I go, no, they shouldn't. And if you're wondering why shouldn't they, go to Fanatics Fest. Listen to the reaction that Cody gets when he just walks on stage. He did it twice on Sunday. Wants to do his entrance and wants to participate in the Kevin Hart entrance. Look at the fact that Tom Brady did Cody Rhodes' entrance. Look at the fact that there were kids walking out in red, white, and blue trench coats all weekend. I mean, just listening to the absolute joy that is expressed from people's bodies when Cody just shows up to do his entrance. It's unbelievable. You know, I mean, he's done the impossible. He is a babyface, pure babyface, actual babyface. Not, you know, I'm an anti-hero, not like I'm going to be a babyface for 3 months, like a carry the company year over year babyface that is still as popular as he's ever been with everybody. And he's just got that massive star thing. Everybody loves him. So that was what I picked up on at Fanatics Fest. But of course, before Fanatics Fest on Monday, we got to find out who's next. So Gunther has won the world championship, the world heavyweight championship from Jey Uso. And he comes out for his first promo and he's smiling because he knows people are disappointed by it. And he said he's heard all the rumors. And don't forget, on Raw Recap, he had acknowledged that people were buzzing about Goldberg. And then he comes out on television and he said, I've heard all the rumors. And that's just kind of a tip of the hat to the fact that people are saying Goldberg. But he said he doesn't deal in rumors, he deals in facts. And he starts calling out Seth Rollins. Now, I love very much that Seth Rollins, as Money in the Bank holder, has gotten both champions talking about him. John Cena says Seth won't cash in on me because he wants to me to retire, and then he's the only champion, so he's going to cash in on the other title. Gunther saying, you know, I'm going to stick to facts. Seth Rollins, you've got the briefcase. Seth Rollins, you want my title. Seth Rollins confronting John Cena at Fanatics Fest. Like, Seth Rollins is ingrained in both title pictures, as he should be, as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. So he's cutting a promo on Seth Rollins, Gunther is, and then boom, 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 boom. Sounds like something out of Legend of Zelda or something. Here comes Goldberg. Green Bay is losing their mind. People say what they want to say about Goldberg. But when he shows up into an arena, people react. Now, sometimes once they get to the pay-per-view, they might boo. They're going to react. And at Bad Blood in Atlanta, the idea of Gunther versus Goldberg had, a lot of people, I'll say. I can't say most. I didn't take a survey. But had a lot of people very, very intrigued. Had a lot of people very, very interested. So Goldberg actually comes out and he gets in Gunther's face and he's spitting all over his face and he's sweating up a storm already. And it's the old school, intense Goldberg who knows what he's done to get psyched up for his entrance. But whatever he's done, it takes more effort than most people put into their matches. And Goldberg says that he and Gunther had started something with him in Atlanta at Bad Blood when Gunther insulted his son. And then Gunther didn't actually, I don't even know if he said that, but Gunther didn't insult his son. He said that he hopes, he talked to Goldberg's son and said he hopes Goldberg was a better father than he was a professional wrestler. But he involved his son. That's a terrible thing to do. And Goldberg says, congrats on being the champion. I'm happy for you. But I can't think of a better place than Atlanta to finish what we started at Bad Blood. Gunther, you're next. And Gunther is taken aback by the whole thing, retreats again, didn't see this one coming, has to gain his bearings as Goldberg leaves. And it's announced. Saturday night's main event, we're getting it. Saturday night's main event, July 12th in Atlanta. We get Goldberg versus Gunther. It's a World Heavyweight Championship match, I believe. Now, first of all, the first thing you go, okay, we're actually going to see this, Goldberg and Gunther. Something that was teased last October, it's happening. And, I think people have been, to one extent or another, waiting for this since then. And I say waiting for this, meaning as soon as you saw the two of them, there's something about Goldberg where Gunther can interact with any legend, right? But when he interacts with Goldberg and there's tension between he and Goldberg, you start going, yeah, Gunther versus Goldberg is the match. Now, listen, Goldberg's 58 years old, right? It's almost like one of those things where it's the fantasy warfare of it all, where a prime Gunther versus a prime Goldberg would be an incredible match. Except Goldberg has figured out how to still kind of be Goldberg for all these years. Now, we haven't seen him in a couple of years, and he's 58 years old now. So, and honestly, in the last however many years, his last however many matches, there were definitely some situations that Goldberg has been in that were less than flattering. You can go back to the Goldberg-Undertaker match, you can go back to whatever. And there are moments where it's like that. Well, that's why I stopped myself before I said he's never broken the illusion. Because the illusion has been broken, but for whatever reason about Goldberg, when the entrance starts, for a lot of people, the illusion comes back. With all the things that Goldberg has done, I don't think that he's ever truly lost the ability to play this character. And to make people, at least in the entrance, believe. I feel like Goldberg, based on what he said in interviews, based on where he's at right now, I don't think he's doing this because he has to. I don't think he's doing this to fulfill a contract. I don't think that he's doing this. Maybe it'll help get his son's foot in the door, but I don't think his son needed any extra help getting his foot in the door. And he already did his comeback tour so his son could see him. That was the original. That was the Brock Lesnar Goldberg stuff. So Goldberg, I don't think, would do this if he didn't think he could do this. Now, thinking you can do this and being able to do this are, of course, two separate things. But you at least have to respect somebody's knowledge of self to say, okay, if you think you can do it, we're willing to give you a shot. So between Goldberg voluntarily doing this and saying, no, I can do this and I've been training, and Gunther being one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now and in a conversation for one of the best that's ever done it. I don't look at this match, and maybe I'm also being optimistic, but I don't personally, could something go wrong? Of course. But I don't look at this match and kind of bite my lip going oh no, this is a bad idea. If it was a bad idea, if it was a truly bad idea, I would hope that they wouldn't do it. So, that I'm less concerned about. I think between Gunther and Goldberg, there's a match to be had. I'm curious about the story. I'm curious about where it's going. I'm curious about the finish. I'm curious about the decision to make it a world championship match. I'm curious about the decision to have Jey Uso lose the title so that Gunther can defend against Goldberg. Maybe it's just to add prestige to the match. Maybe it's just to add that sort of Goldberg might actually do this. Maybe it's because Goldberg is so associated with championships that his last match should be a championship match. Maybe it's a combination of all those things. Or maybe Goldberg's going to win the title. Is it possible? Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. That's something that, and there are people who don't like Goldberg that probably don't want to hear that, but the reality is that it's a possibility. If I had to put my money on a finish for the Saturday Night's Main Event match right now, my money would be on Gunther leaving as the champion. I feel like the same way we had that conversation about Jey Uso losing the title, kind of out of nowhere on Monday in the middle of his run. Like he was on a run and like on a, I don't want to say a streak, but he had the momentum was pointing in his direction. He had beaten Logan Paul. He had beaten Seth Rollins. He had won the tag match with Cody Rhodes. Like it was like, okay, we're building Jey Uso into this main event guy. And then boom, out of nowhere on a Raw match, Gunther beats him for the world title. And the reason, as I said before, that worked for me was because it was exactly what Gunther does. That's exactly Gunther's style. Gunther's style is that crushing dose of reality. And so to me, the finish that makes all the sense in the world is Gunther coming in and going into Atlanta and fighting a guy named Goldberg who, even when you don't think he's going to beat the champion, beats the champions. And beating Goldberg in Goldberg's retirement match in Atlanta. Like that is where I would put my money. That's what I think is going to happen. However, the reality is that what makes it compelling is that that's true, that whenever Goldberg is in a title match, he might win the title. And that's something that was established in his sort of later years, that even when people did not want him to be the champion, even when it was like, no, there's no way Goldberg's going to win this match, is there? He would win the match. I mean, I don't think people thought Goldberg was going to beat Brock Lesnar. Didn't he beat, or did he beat Kevin Owens? It might have been Kevin Owens that he beat. I don't think people thought he was going to beat Kevin Owens. I don't think people thought he was going to beat The Fiend. There's all this stuff with Goldberg that he may go in and win the match. And, I mean, there is one theory, right, that people say Goldberg can beat Gunther and then Seth Rollins can cash in on him. Or Seth Rollins can cash in and make it a triple threat. Or Gunther, whatever it is. I don't think that's going to happen. And the main reason I don't think that's going to happen is because I think he's going to cash in on the WWE Championship. I don't think he's going to cash in on the World Heavyweight Champion. But what I am saying is that there is at least a possibility, because the t-shirts, they haven't said, I don't think, maybe they have, but I don't think that they've specifically said, this is Goldberg's retirement match. This is Goldberg's last match. The t-shirts say one last ride. Now, my opinion could change if he says, this is my last match, win or lose. Maybe I'll retire as champion, which feels a little like John Cena's thing. But I think that if it's his last ride, meaning who knows, he's coming back in Atlanta and then he could have another run in him. We've got a 2-night SummerSlam stadium show. I believe that Cody Rhodes is going to win the King of the Ring tournament. I believe the main event for SummerSlam is going to be John Cena versus Cody Rhodes 2. That's the WWE Championship. What if Goldberg beats Gunther at Saturday night's main event and then the World Heavyweight Championship main event in MetLife Stadium at SummerSlam is the return match, Gunther versus Goldberg? What if Goldberg gets one more run at the champion? He holds it for a month, maybe a little less, and then Gunther comes in, beats Goldberg at SummerSlam, and now Gunther is the first ever 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. Am I telling you that that's what I think is going to happen? No, that's not where I would put my money. Am I telling you that there is at least a possibility that Goldberg's going to beat Gunther at Saturday night's main event to open the door for Gunther to get the rematch at SummerSlam? Yeah, there's at least a possibility. At the very least, there's a possibility, and something that maybe we should be open to. But I mean, I don't know. There's just something about it, and maybe I just love stirring the pot. I just love how Goldberg makes people feel. I love how fired up Goldberg gets people. I went on Busted Open. I was talking to Dave LaGreca about Goldberg, because Dave LaGreca's Goldberg takes, they were hideous all week. I mean, he was so mad about Goldberg that he was saying stuff about John Cena and the shot that he got at WrestleMania that weren't even true. He had forgotten facts because he was so mad about Goldberg. And that's the way he makes you feel. I mean, and I don't know. There's something about me that goes like, you can't do that all the time. You can't have negative feelings running around all the time. But anybody that makes you feel to that level, I don't know. It feels like it's at least worth, putting him in a title match at Saturday night's main event. Guys, I promise we're going to get right back to it. But if you've been eating like trash and need a reset like me, well, then look no further than Huel. Yeah, Huel, it's a complete meal in a bottle. It's ready to go whenever you're ready to go. You could be lounging poolside, running late to work, doesn't matter. Huel's got you. Their Black Edition ready to drink has 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, a bunch of fiber, low sugar. You're going to feel full, focused, and ready for the day. Listen, I'm busy. I got kids, I got jobs, I got everything going on. All I want to do is attempt to eat right. That's where Huel comes in and saves everything. And it tastes like a milkshake. Comes in both chocolate and vanilla, so you're not going to get bored of it. No matter which one you pick, you really can't go wrong. Start saving time and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. It's 15% off using my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com. That's 15% off for new customers with code NOTSAM at Huel.com. See our show notes for terms and conditions. Skip the stress. Don't skip the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition, bottled. Speaking of title matches and John Cena, of course, if the main event of SummerSlam is going to be John Cena and Cody Rhodes, that means we have to get through Night of Champions, which is John Cena versus CM Punk. But before we got there, we had SmackDown. And I did an entire emergency podcast about John Cena's pipe bomb promo. I would recommend checking it out. Just a feeling show about how we were feeling after that promo, which I thought was excellent. Just an excellent segment of television. Thought it was really, really good. But let's start the story of this match of SmackDown of everything with R-Truth. Because this SmackDown is built as R-Truth versus John Cena. And interestingly enough, last week on SmackDown, we had John Cena out for two separate promo segments. This week on SmackDown, it's a big deal because we get John Cena wrestling on SmackDown, which I feel like not enough people are pointing out. That's massive for this run. But we didn't get a promo segment at all. We didn't see John Cena until the main event of the show. So we start SmackDown, and we're going through the show and everything. And the first time we see R-Truth is when Kit Wilson is in the ring, one half of Pretty Deadly, getting ready for his match with Aleister Black. And out comes R-Truth out of nowhere during Aleister Black's entrance, which is kind of nuts, mind you, because Aleister Black has a very intense entrance. So the fact that that would be interrupted by something really feels off kilter. And R-Truth comes out and he just beats up Kit Wilson out of nowhere. And Aleister Black is like, what the hell is going on? So he puts Kit Wilson in the STFU, and he starts yelling that, where's John Cena? I want John Cena now. No one tells me when to do things. No one tells me what I should be doing, when I should be doing it, who I should be. I want John Cena right now. And Jamie Noble comes out and talks to R-Truth and talks him down off a ledge. And then R-Truth is able to peacefully walk out, much to Aleister Black's chagrin. He doesn't like being interrupted. But right there is beat number one. R-Truth doesn't need an army of guys to pull him off Kit Wilson. One person that he trusts, Jamie Noble, is able to calm down R-Truth, and then once he's calm, he walks to the back. He lets Kit Wilson alone. And then he gets to the back, and Aleister Black is not happy. Aleister Black doesn't like being interrupted. And they make very mean grimaces at each other. They get nose to nose until Damian Priest breaks it up, says, I'll take care of it. And then he gives R-Truth a pep talk and talks about the guy that makes everybody laugh and talks and says, save it for your match. You can't be going out beating people up and doing all this. And Truth likes Damian Priest. And so he smiles at him. You know, he goes, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Damian Priest. Whatever. Damian Priest leaves, and the minute Damian Priest is gone, Truth's face changes again. And now he's mean. Now he's aggressive again. When he gets out there and he wrestles John Cena, he doesn't rap on his way to the ring. He's got the same music, but he's not singing, what's up? What's up? What's up? He's not saying any of it, okay? He's not saying that you can get with this or that you can get with that. None of it. And then he gets in there, and he's not playing the hits, and he's beating up John Cena. He attacks John Cena. He throws him to the outside. He's throwing haymakers at him. He's fighting in an aggressive tone. R-Truth, to me, was, I mean, listen, nothing in the presentation of R-Truth on SmackDown skewed me from what I said last week, from what I think this version of R-Truth is, and why it's okay for me to keep calling him R-Truth right now. Because R-Truth said what over and over again? I'm driving now. Put some respect on my name. I'm driving now. And the way he said I'm driving now makes you feel like it's always been an option that Ron Killings would be the one calling the shots. But instead, we've been seeing silly R-Truth. And when that first came up, I think that a lot of people interpreted that as WWE wanted me to be R-Truth, but WWE is no longer in charge. I'm driving now, so you get Ron Killings. However, I don't think that that's what this character is. I go back to what I said last week, based again on the most recent stuff. It feels like R-Truth and Ron Killings both exist in this meat sack. R-Truth and Ron Killings both exist within the same frame of a human being. And R-Truth has been the one driving that vessel because R-Truth is the version of Ron Killings that's happy-go-lucky, that's having a good time, that's a fun dude. However, R-Truth got taken advantage of, got taken for granted, got released from the WWE. So now Ron Killings has to come in and take care of business for this vessel. And that's why he flips back and forth. That's why Jamie Noble is able to talk sense into him. That's why he smiles when he sees Damian Priest. That's why we're seeing this duality inside this Ron Killings. And that's why sometimes he's referred to as R-Truth and sometimes he's referring to himself as Ron Killings. Because it's not a switch where it's like, okay, if it's up, that's R-Truth now. Over here, that's Ron Killings. I truly believe that both are existing within that same body right now, and that's where we're going. John Cena got himself disqualified intentionally in this match. He hit R-Truth with the championship. I don't personally think that the R-Truth John Cena rivalry continues after this. I think that it does in the sense that it won't go away now. I think that, you know, their paths could cross again over the course of the next year. But I think realistically, the next step is not another R-Truth match. It's doing the CM Punk story, then doing whatever story is going into SummerSlam, then whatever story comes off of SummerSlam. And I think that now, R-Truth, Ron Killings, now we can start to explore this character outside of John Cena. Interfering with John Cena's match, that was the big return. Having this payoff happen here, using R-Truth as the vessel to get us to John Cena's pipe bomb promo, because John Cena versus R-Truth was the match from the original pipe bomb promo, was all part of it. But now R-Truth, whether he moves on to fighting Damian Priest, whether he moves on to fighting Aleister Black, and it'll be very interesting to see where he fits in. Again, R-Truth is one of those guys. The conversation came up immediately. Is R-Truth going to be the world champion? Don't worry about it. If the story makes sense, then R-Truth will be the world champion. But there are people who really, they're not the world champion, especially in this version of WWE where championship reigns last a lot longer than they did in, say, the Attitude Era or even Ruthless Aggression Era, where you have, like, John Cena's title reigns. Most of those 17 title reigns are not very long. His current title reign, which doesn't feel like it's been that long, is longer than a bunch of his previous championship reigns. So in this era, like, if you have the championship, it's because your story dictated that you would have the championship. It doesn't mean if you don't, that you don't have a worthwhile story, that you're not a top star, that you're not the guy. Like, none of that means anything, I don't think, in my opinion. But truth, I think it'll be interesting to see how he maintains momentum with people who aren't John Cena and Cody Rhodes and those guys. It'll be interesting to see because we almost saw the transition in real time. I thought it was going to be about R-Truth, but SmackDown wasn't about R-Truth. SmackDown became about CM Punk and John Cena. Punk comes out, help R-Truth. John Cena and Punk get in a brawl. Punk snaps CM Punk. John Cena snaps CM Punk through a Slim Jim table. And then the same way that it happened for John Cena, history, it repeats itself. A pipe bomb is cut while the assailant's future opponent lays down on this broken table for minutes and minutes and minutes on end. It was a brilliant piece of work, you know. Like I said, we broke the whole promo itself down on the emergency podcast that we put out very, very late on Friday night. There are many theories about this. Some of the theories are terrible. You know, like a lot of people are making a big deal out of, and they should, is a big deal. A lot of people are talking about how John Cena mentioned Claudio Castagnoli, Matt Cardona, and Nick Nemeth. And like, I mean, some of the theories are like the dumbest things I've ever read, but other theories are interesting. You know, there's a clip of CM Punk that I saw at the WrestleMania 29 press conference. And the reason I know it's the WrestleMania 29 press conference is my hand is holding a microphone in this video. That's me talking to CM Punk. And he talks about Dolph Ziggler, Zack Ryder, and Cesaro. And he's wearing a Cesaro t-shirt. And I think that John Cena was bringing those names up as people who I believe are all friends of John Cena's. But people who were advocated by or advocated for by CM Punk. And maybe people that CM Punk didn't actually have their back, according to John Cena in this promo, I think was the point of mentioning those names. You know, I think that ultimately what this promo is going to do is, I mean, it starts this and last week. Last week, SmackDown is not getting enough credit. People still run around talking about John Cena sold his soul. He's told us he didn't do that. He has said into a microphone that he did not sell his soul. He mocked us for thinking that he did sell his soul to The Rock. Some people will have you believe that John Cena sold his soul to The Rock to get a championship match at WrestleMania. He had won the Elimination Chamber right before The Rock came out. He went to WrestleMania because he won the Elimination Chamber. John Cena has said he didn't sell his soul to The Rock. What happened between him and The Rock, I feel like we'll be able to unpack, you know, hopefully by the end of this year. I hope so. I would love to see it. Hopefully, maybe. But I think between last week and this week, the evolution of the John Cena character, which is that it is all about his sort of actions that he does to evoke responses that he's looking for. And I think that between him saying, yeah, no, you guys think I sold my soul to The Rock? That's stupid. And then this week coming in and cutting that pipe bomb promo, all of a sudden, the John Cena heel character is given this new real foundation of depth. You know, there's really something there to it now, and something interesting. And something interesting enough that fans went crazy for it. We're cheering for it in in Grand Rapids. And he even made mention of the fact that, like, the mood is clearly changing. If in Grand Rapids they sound like this, imagine how they're going to sound elsewhere. And I think that is in the short term, a challenge to the baby faces. Well, this is what I'm going to get. These are the reactions that I'm going to get. So if you're as good at your job as you should be, beat them. That's up to you. I'm not going to help you with that. And I think that makes it even more interesting. But because we're now at a point where he may end up getting consistently cheered, because he'll get cheered. He was getting cheered before here, there, but ultimately, people were going to cheer Randy Orton, not John Cena. People were cheering Jay and Cody, not John and Logan. But John, if he continues on this route, is going to end up with a heel character that, much like Roman Reigns, people appreciate so much that they're ready to cheer and they're ready to show their appreciation for. Which means that this level of heel work is the type of heel work that makes it even easier for you to turn babyface. That makes it easy, no matter what you're saying now, just give me a reason and I will show you, I will cheer for you because I want to support you because I enjoy you being a heel so much. I think that's what this hopefully and could be the beginning of. That we're now entering into a phase of John Cena as a heel that makes it doable for him to go back to being a babyface before this is all over. I really don't think that there's any way that CM Punk leaves Night of Champions as the World Heavyweight Champion. There's definitely not because he's not in that match. But I don't think he's going to leave as the WWE Champion. There's a million people that could cost him. We're in the middle of this, like he's got this match with John Cena that we're building foundation for, but ultimately his rivalry with Seth Rollins, with Bronson Reed, with Braun Breaker, that's not settled at all. And while I don't think we're going straight to CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, because we're going someplace else with Seth Rollins that we'll talk about momentarily, I do think that and maybe maybe it'll be a triple threat between Punk, Cena, and Cody at SummerSlam. I just think that John Cena enters SummerSlam as the World Heavyweight Champion. I think regardless of who he's facing at SummerSlam, I think he's entering SummerSlam with the WWE Championship. I don't think CM Punk will lose clean. Nobody's really lost clean, really, to John Cena in this last year. And then you go, well, maybe CM Punk's not going to leave with the title, but maybe he won't leave with the title because Seth Rollins will cash in, right? Unless Seth Rollins cashes in. That's what you say. I think John Cena will leave with the championship unless Seth Rollins cashes in. And Seth Rollins might cash in unless Seth Rollins is cashing in at Saturday night's main event. That's why it becomes this great thing to have all sort of champions involved with this briefcase. Because now the Seth Rollins cashing in conversation just goes wider and wider and wider. Like I said, I don't think Seth is going to cash in on Gunther or Goldberg, but I also don't think it's going to happen at Night of Champions. It could happen at SummerSlam. It could happen. I don't know. But I think maybe Seth could fake a cash in. CM Punk gets upset, and that gives John Cena the opening to beat CM Punk. I think that is something that we could see, but ultimately, Seth has other problems right now. Seth and LA Knight are starting this great story. And LA Knight, goes in that same category of people. He didn't win Money in the Bank. And people go, you got to be kidding me. It's like, oh, we love Karrion Kross. Make him the champion. We love LA Knight. Make him the champion. We love Jay. Make him the champion. And by the way, the minute you make him the champion, they're like, I don't know. I don't like him as champion. But Seth and LA Knight are building this really cool story, with as we were talking about last week, the Seth's guys costing LA Knight the Money in the Bank opportunity, then LA Knight costing Braun Breaker and the King of the Ring, then Seth's guys costing LA Knight and the King of the Ring, then Seth costing Bronson Reed and the King of the Ring, and now it's come to this boiling point where LA Knight shows up on SmackDown and says, and he references the fact that I understand we're on every show. I understand this isn't following the rules of the draft. I understand that Seth Rollins group LA Knight interactions are happening throughout the brands. But then he says, because we got to have the match, and references Guerrilla Radio by Rage Against the Machine when he says, what better place than here? What better time than now? Yeah. LA Knight does this incredible job after Paul Heyman is the one who answers the challenge, not Seth Rollins. LA Knight does this incredible job of breaking down Paul Heyman, because Paul Heyman's greatest strength, I think, to wrestling fans is his ability to be a mentor, and this ability to be like the Paul Heyman guys, however you want to phrase it, are an untouchable group going way back. You know, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar. Like, it just goes and goes and goes. CM Punk. It just goes and goes and goes. And you can go into the Dangerous Alliance with Steve Austin and you know, Rick Rude and Bobby Eaton, and you could go back to the Wilds or the Samoan SWAT team. You can go back to the ECW and all those guys. Like, it's legendary. But LA Knight turns that thing on its head when he goes, you glom on to any talent that has even a hint of a buzz, and then you call him a Paul Heyman guy. And all of a sudden, Paul's perceived genius is used to make Paul come across looking more like a leech. You know, it takes a positive about Paul Heyman and turns it into something that makes it seem like Paul Heyman has been actually trying to manipulate the narrative around what he's doing. And that's what you should do if Paul Heyman is a villain. You know, take that thing where we go, yeah, we boo Paul Heyman, but, you know, we really like him because this, because that, because this. Well, what if I take this, that, and this and turn them into things that either A, aren't true, or B, are actually negatives? Now we can boo Paul Heyman. So I really liked it. I thought LA Knight's promo was great. And I loved, like, what he did specifically there with Paul Heyman. You know, of course, he's taken out by Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker in his match and everything. But, you know, the idea that it feels like we're going all the way with this LA Knight, that like LA Knight versus Seth Rollins, I feel like is going to end up being a big match when it finally happens. It's going to feel like a big match. And I think that's what LA Knight is actually very, very good at. LA Knight is very, very good at, when he gets an opportunity, reminding you of how much you wanted this. When he finally gets that opportunity, reminding you as a fan that you've been chanting his name and you've been unsatisfied with the level that he has gotten to in the WWE. So now he's getting there, and it's time for us all to celebrate this. It's time for us all to put this on a pedestal. It's time for all of us to make sure the world knows that this is the moment that we've been asking for, and it turns big moments into huge moments. And I think LA Knight is really, really excellent at doing that. So I'm very much looking forward to Seth Rollins and LA Knight eventually. We got our Solo versus Jacob segment, and I mean, I've got to tell you, Solo and Jacob and the face-to-face that they had on SmackDown was masterful. Solo talks about how much he says he loves Jacob. I love you, Jacob. And this, all Solo really wants, all he wants is this.
I love you, Solo!
And he says, I gave you all this opportunity when nobody was going to give it to you. I put food, I helped you. I gave you the opportunity to put food on your kids' plates. I did everything. I want to move forward with you. Families fight, he said. Families have these things that happen, but let's put it in the past. He said, I don't have anybody else. I love you, Jacob. That's what he says. I love you, Jacob. And as the audience is chanting BS, you know, bull, you know what? I'm sitting there going like, this is the dramatic performance of a lifetime. You know, there's a tension here that is not typical of wrestling. They're not yelling at each other. Jacob comes back to him, and he's talking about how he feels used. He goes back to when Solo was the tribal chief. He said that Solo used Jacob to become the tribal chief, to stay the tribal chief. And it starts to, because you've almost forgotten about that, right? Solo Sikoa lost the tribal chiefdom in January. That was last year. And now you're drawing from all that, going like, no, all that counts. Like, let's bring all that back now into the forefront and go and let's talk about what that did to us. Let's talk about how that formulated this thing that we've got here, this rivalry that we've got here. And he says that Solo's the one that's been acting different since Jacob won the United States Championship. And Jacob just says flat out, if this is what you want, come get it. Fight me for it. But he says, you know how I get down. And he puts the title down, and Solo goes for it. Solo goes for the spike, and Jacob catches the wrist. And when Solo goes for the spike, and Jacob catches that wrist, I was sitting there almost in awe, and maybe it's hyperbole, but I don't think it is, that this back and forth, this promo was so, like, dramatically done, understated, spoken, using emotions. And you didn't have Roman Reigns out there, and you didn't have Paul Heyman out there. And at first, you didn't even have Jimmy and Jey Uso out there. You had Jacob Fatu, and you had Solo Sikoa, and Solo Sikoa was leading us through this very emotional journey where you still don't know for sure if Solo Sikoa is being honest or if he's being manipulative. And that's because Solo is this low-key, unreal performer. Solo is excellent at this stuff. And he keeps getting better, and he keeps showing different sides of him. And I think that it goes from like this kind of weaselly heel who's, you know, laughing at him. Oh, gas, no brain. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? To like this more dramatic sort of, we're family. I gave this to you. I want you with me. I love you. To that spike going through, and you remember, oh yeah, he's the enforcer. Before Jacob was the enforcer, Solo was the enforcer. And I think we're going to be able to build this thing where maybe Solo isn't as goofy as he has been on his way to his match with Jacob Fatu. And maybe we do get to see this thing. Maybe there is a seed of doubt put into the idea that Jacob can actually take out Solo Sikoa. And maybe we do end up seeing this match between two absolute powerhouses, two Samoan enforcers. They weren't using catchphrases and buzzwords. I mean, a little bit of catchphrases, yeah, I mean, but everybody wants it. I more mean the buzzwords, you know? And you see, ever since you came around these parts, you've changed, my friend. Like, it didn't feel wrestling-y. And then at the end, right, JC Mateo comes out to help Solo. They're beating up Jacob Fatu, and here comes Jimmy Uso out to help Jacob Fatu. At the end of the day, Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso are on the same page. To me, I thought that I had seen something like amazing with Solo and Jacob, and I still feel that way. But the idea that Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu are standing next to each other, I went, oh my God. This is the first time that we've seen Jacob Fatu united with somebody from the OG bloodline. People thought the new bloodline was like, they weren't buying into the new bloodline. The new bloodline felt like NWO Wolfpack, except NWO Wolfpack had some cool people in it. K-Dog was cool. Big Sexy was cool. You know what I mean? But when it came down to it, the red and black just wasn't the original NWO. And it was the same with the new bloodline, except for the fact that everybody loved Jacob Fatu. And you started to think, like, what if the OG bloodline had Jacob Fatu from the beginning? How amazing would that have been? We've been spending all this time talking about the idea of Roman Reigns versus Jacob. That's a match that people have been talking about since Jacob showed up last year. But when I look at Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu together, and I go, Jacob is aligned with an OG bloodline member. It's the first time we've seen it. Roman Reigns is going to have to come back at some point. Is he going to go straight? And he might go straight for where he left off, you know? Where we last saw Roman Reigns was laid out by Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. So he may go straight for that group to get his revenge on Seth Rollins. But if there's bloodline business going on and he is the tribal chief, he may be in a scenario where, as much as we said that Jacob Fatu Roman Reigns match is going to hit different? What if Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns are allies? What if Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns are on the same team? Jacob Fatu going full good guy. Jacob Fatu getting backed up by Jimmy Uso now all of a sudden opens the door to this idea of a Roman Reigns returning and being on the same page as Jacob Fatu. What is that going to look like? What is it going to look like when Jacob Fatu is aligned with the tribal chief? And remember, Solo Sikoa had Jacob Fatu acknowledging him because he was the tribal chief. And Solo Sikoa said to Jacob Fatu, if Roman Reigns beats me, then he'll be the one that you acknowledge as your tribal chief. And that hasn't happened yet. But what if Roman Reigns comes back and he's got that Ulafala on that he won from Solo Sikoa? What if Jacob Fatu acknowledges Roman Reigns? What if instead of
I love you, Solo!
we get to hear the word? We thought the opposite would be I hate you, Solo, and that would be the payoff. What if it's I love you, Roman? I'm just saying, I would lose my mind. I would lose my mind. Either way, I think Solo Sikoa is about to get that takes a lot. Jacob, I don't know how you do that. That takes a lot out of a person. Either way, I think Solo Sikoa is about to get dog walked at Night of Champions. You know what I mean? It feels good to say it, man. It does. It does feel good to say it. I feel really good about where I landed on the King of the Ring tournament. Feel like I'm calling this pretty perfectly. I told you how it was going to go last week. So far, so good. Randy Orton beat Sami Zayn on SmackDown. I got to believe that Cody Rhodes is going to beat Jey Uso on Raw. I got to believe we're going with Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes at Night of Champions. And I think Cody's going to get the W. And I think that that's going to come back to haunt him whenever Cody finally is champion, because that's when we'll see Randy go after Cody for the WWE Championship. We also got Asuka over Stephanie Vaquer. And then we have Roxanne Perez versus Jade Cargill. So I'm thinking Asuka versus Jade Cargill. I think Jade Cargill wins Queen of the Ring. And while we're talking about the women's division, we do really hope that Liv Morgan gets healthy as soon as possible. The worst timing, but it's always the worst timing. I mean, Liv, since coming back from her last injury, just has ascended to the top of the division. I mean, just the star of the women's division. So it sucks that she's going to be away for a little bit, especially as they're building to whatever is going on with Nikki Bella, potentially at Evolution. There were talks about a possible Bella's tag reunion. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with Raquel in the tag team championship? Maybe Roxanne steps in. Maybe it's too close to the Naomi, Jade, Bianca triangle. I don't know. But either way, you want a storyline resolution, but the most important thing is that you want the performer to get back, Liv Morgan, to get back, get healthy, and come back better than ever. If you have any ideas, you can email him in. Of course, our email address is notsamwrestling@gmail.com. That's notsamwrestling@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe however you are taking this content in. Subscribe across all audio platforms, Apple, Spotify. You could listen on the Sirius app, wherever you want to go. And also the YouTube channel, youtube.com/notsamwrestling for all of that. Every podcast goes up on youtube.com/notsamwrestling. So subscribe, like, review, rate. Pancho writes in to notsamwrestling@gmail.com. Sup, Sam? I am Pancho. Appreciate you. First off, representing my country, Ecuador, I acknowledge my OPTC. That's what I'm talking about. Shout out Ecuador. We love Ecuador. Second of all, if 6 months ago you would have told me that R-Truth was having not one but two different characters against a heel 17-time John Cena during his retirement tour, I would have called you crazy. That's right. With that said, I believe anything can happen now, but I'm just curious to know what's your wildest prediction for the rest of the retirement tour. Something that people can call you crazy for today, but that's not 100% impossible. I don't know. I mean, I guess my craziest is that Braun Breaker is going to beat him in his last match with a small package. Braun Breaker beats John Cena in John Cena's final match with a small package. That's how I would book it. Call me crazy, but crazier things have clearly happened. Thank you, my friend. Luke writes in, keep singing those theme songs. I will. Which theme song are you enjoying the most right now? I like, you know what theme song was very popular, more popular than I would have imagined at Fanatics Fest, was Trick Williams. Whoop that trick. Whoop that trick. Yeah, whoop that trick. I like it. Whoop. A lot of people picking Trick Williams. So I was happy about that. On to the big question with John Cena reimagining Punk's pipe bomb promo. I hope this is the beginning of him revisiting other key moments. What are your top 3 moments John Cena should revisit? I don't know about revisiting. I mean, especially because who's he going to revisit them with? I hope Matt Cardona returns and John Cena puts him in a wheelchair and pushes him right off. How Kane did. I hope, that's what, you know what? Maybe, Zack Ryder returns and then and then she gets flowers. Chelsea Green gets flowers from John Cena or something. I don't know. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see that whole thing done again. T-Rock writes in. It's the wild history of these titles, and something always happens to someone who holds them. Get well, live. He's talking about the women's tag team championship. When Jade and Bianca were tag champs and Jade had to take time away or got injured, they gave Jade's title to Naomi, and her and Bianca became the tag champs. So one, do you think instead of vacating the titles, we could see a story similar? I mean, I was just talking about Roxanne. Yeah, you could see that, but it's not a similar story. It's basically the same story. Let's see. Oh, also got a ticket to the Comedy Cellar next month for your show, SummerSlam weekend. Looking forward to it. Me too, my friend. Me too. You can get tickets at notsam.com, by the way. There's a little ticket link there. Ray writes in, Sam the man. I was listening to the show about PLE results being ruined. I'm one of those who has to catch up on PLEs. I stay off of anything that would kill the result for me. But lo and behold, I went to check my email, and there's an email from the WWE store about buying Seth and Naomi's shirts. Brother, I was hot. Still watch the PLE, so the lesson, only use the phone as a phone. I mean, I do. And you got to understand, dude, like, it does suck. And I get it. The podcast, I changed the audio podcast, but the idea of, like, everybody's, I mean, WWE can't, they're winners t-shirts. A winner's t-shirt, by definition, is only a popular item for a very limited amount of time. You got to get them out immediately. You don't go like, oh, don't say anything for 24 hours. Give everybody a chance to watch. It's like, that's a very self-centered way of consuming content. Not that you were. I got your email. I get what you're saying. It's fine for you to be hot, but I think you understand. Raj writes in, I love seeing Solo grow and killing every role he plays. It's amazing. Does he need this win against Jacob? Where do you see Solo in the long run? Can I get an I love you Solo somebody? Yes, you can.
I love you, Solo!
And no, I don't think Solo needs to beat Jacob Fatu. I think Solo would be fine if he loses to Jacob Fatu. Solo's really good. When you're really good, you can lose to people. I think it'd be cool if he did beat Jacob. I think that'd be a wild thing. But no, I think he'd be fine. And where do I see Solo in the long run? I mean, Solo's a young man. You know, I see Solo prospering for a long time in the WWE. Kaysen writes in, hit me with the I love you Solo button, please. I can't. And you should have a yada to meme button. Maybe I'll put a yada to meme button in, and you'll definitely get that one. I can't do another one. What are your thoughts on Tommy Invincible? I love Tommy Invincible. I've been on record of loving Tommy Invincible. I had Andrew Schultz on the show, and we discussed Tommy Invincible. If you go back to my last appearance on the Pat McAfee show over WrestleMania weekend, I hit him with the Tommy Invincible on Pat McAfee's show. I mean, I've been very public in my support for Tommy Invincible for a long time. So, you know, he makes me feel invincible. Another question. We have different eras in WWE. What are the different eras of the Sam Roberts, Not Sam Wrestling podcast? Okay. There is the OG era, which was interview every week, State of Wrestling. There was the Linendahl era where Katie started doing the show pretty much every week, you know, which was great. There was the, I don't know. I mean, those are pretty easy to split up. I don't know I would call this the monologue era. This is my favorite era, by the way. I don't know what's between the Linendoll era and the monologue era. There's an era in there. I guess ruthless aggression. That's probably what I would say. Ruthless aggression era. So it goes OG era, Linendoll era, ruthless aggression era, and then monologue era. Those are the eras of Notsam Wrestling. And then the last question. Did you ever think when you started your podcast that you'd be where you are today, getting to work for WWE and have John Cena the GOAT run to you and jump over a table into your arms? You're living out every wrestling fan's ultimate dream. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. No, I mean, and I didn't start this podcast with like, okay, here's my goal. I started this podcast with like, I want this podcast to exist. I think it could be really cool. So no, but I think, I try to, with every opportunity that I get, remind myself that you're here because you're a wrestling fan. Like you're here because you're a fan. So be a fan. Like I told you before, like when R-Truth came back, I was high-fiving executives. Like executives that other people write, like dirt sheet articles about how like they're this scary executive in HQ. And I'm like, yeah, dude, R-Truth is back. Like, I don't know. Like I'm there at Fanatics Fest and I'm like getting into all the entrances and having the best time ever. And, I'm just trying to, I purposefully maintain my fandom and do it in a way that I'm not ashamed of. Tyler writes in, I acknowledge you, Sam Roberts. I want to start by doing something incredibly brave or incredibly stupid and respectfully disagree with you. Oh my God. I would say dumb, but let's see. With you, when you said a wrestler has reached their highest potential when becoming world champion. When did I say that? That doesn't sound like something I would say. A wrestler has reached their highest potential when becoming world champion? When did I say that? It's possible that I said it. I talk so much. Roman Reigns is an example. He had title runs before and people, you guys can write in, and I'm sure I did say that at some point, but I don't think I said a wrestler has reached their highest potential when becoming world champion. I mean, you may be taking me out of context, maybe in a certain context. Like, if it's a build to, I would argue that Roman Reigns, you could just throw a belt on somebody and they reach their highest potential, yes. But Roman Reigns as undisputed WWE Universal Champion was the like, boom, there it is, you did it. I think it's a little bit more complicated. I think you may be taking something I said and making it a little bit too direct. Joshua writes in from Wales. Okay, I acknowledge you, my OPTC. That's very nice. I've watched the product and I'm about to speculate wildly because everything counts. That's 3 rules, all 3 rules of Not Sam in this email. Over the past few weeks, we have seen the John Cena versus CM Punk feud develop. Yes. 2 Cody and Seth interactions. Yes. Cody and Punk backstage interaction. Yes. Cena, Rollins, Punk, and Sam Roberts Fanatics Fest interaction. Yes. With the Money in the Bank briefcase at play at Night of Champions, and if Cody wins King of the Ring, we might be looking at John Cena versus Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk. Fatal 4-way match at SummerSlam. What are your thoughts? You know what? It's possible. When you spell it out like that, it is absolutely possible. You could absolutely figure out a way to do that fatal 4-way at SummerSlam. It's possible. I'm not saying that, yeah, you're right, that's going to happen, but I am saying, Josh, this is a good email. Whatever they're feeding you in Wales, we got to get some of it over here because you're not wrong. I'll say that, which is a lot for this email segment. Usually I say people are wrong and I do it in a very violent, rude, wicked way. So congrats. Cynthia writes in, hey, my podcast tribal chief, Fatu. I appreciate that. Just emailing right after SmackDown, my opinion about Naomi cashing in and how it might go. I think Jade should win Queen of the Ring tournament. Yep. And at SummerSlam win her first WWE championship, but that's the perfect time for the cash in from Proceed with Caution. Yeah, I think, P.S. I'm a forever Final Boss fan. He could do no wrong in my eyes, haters. Yeah, sit back and enjoy the ride, the Final Boss. Yeah, listen, the Final Boss rules, okay? Here's the thing. People are not going to convince me that the Final Boss is not awesome. That can never be done. So you're right about that. We got one more email after this, by the way. I think, yes. I think that that I don't think do you think Naomi's not going to haunt her? I feel like Naomi is going to stalk her with the briefcase before she cashes in. I don't think they're going to take Jade's moment from her. I think that they're invested in Jade's moment. I don't think they're going to take the moment from her. So I think Naomi's going to stalk her with the briefcase. I don't think she's going to cash in right away. That's what I think. Let's go to somebody we don't hear from all that often. Let's go to Connor. Connor writes in, first time, long time. See? First time. First time is the email part. So I got to acknowledge the OPTC off the bat. I appreciate you doing that. I'm writing this the morning after that wrestling world shattering promo Cena dropped on SmackDown. This is why I love you guys emailing in. Because, like, if you look at the YouTube comments on the emergency pod, first it's people going like, you're kind of overdoing it with the emergency podcast. It's like, okay, I'm glad you appreciate irony. And second of all, people are going like, well, it's mid. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. He did one of my favorite things in wrestling, which is that history repeats itself and the past can never be forgotten. I agree with you on that, Connor. I think that that's right on. Taking us, the audience, 14 years into the past to highlight and then recreate one of the greatest promo segments in WWE history was absolutely brilliant. I loved everything about it. It got me that much more excited for their match, but also got me thinking of another blast from the past they missed on. Flashback to No Way Out 2008. Don't hit me with this again. Randy Orton slaps Mike Chioda in the face to lose the match to Cena via DQ, but still retain the title, the ultimate heel move. Did WWE miss an opportunity at Backlash to reverse roles and recall history? No, they didn't miss that opportunity. And I'm sure that they thought of it because a ton of other people thought of it. A ton of people suggested it. A ton of people brought it up when that match was happening. And the fact is that it's a bad finish. It's a bad finish for a pay-per-view. And you're not going to follow up a WrestleMania that had a questionable finish with Travis Scott with a bad finish like that. Like slap the referee, DQ, and we're moving on. The difference is that back in 2008, Randy Orton and John Cena would fight 2 million times a year. So they could get away with doing that finish because they're going to do a return match. But if John Cena is wrestling 8 times, this year, then you can't have cheap finishes like that all the time. You just can't. You can't. So I'm glad they didn't do that finish. I don't think that they missed an opportunity. If they had taken that opportunity, I'd say that was the wrong opportunity to take. And that, I think, is how I would feel about it. I appreciate how you guys are feeling. I appreciate you listening and subscribing. I believe that we will have a very big Notsam Wrestling related announcement potentially later this week. So keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and we'll see you soon here on Notsam Wrestling.